We have Lori Long with us, like a professional fundraiser, and she have her master's in. That's like, I mean, I just like want her, so she introduce herself
Okay.
with our audience.
Okay.
Please.
Yeah, so my name's Lori Long. I'm the executive director at the Center for Individuals with Physical Challenges, and I have a little bit of my background is I have a master's degree in human relations with an emphasis in organizational development, and then I'm also a certified fundraising executive 3 times now over. So
Great. Thanks for your all like this time.
yeah, absolutely.
You gave us like today, and this shoot is especially for the newcomers in the not-for-profit, so they can. I mean, I was thinking to create something. So there's a lot of people, they can't really go to schools, or they don't have to go to schools.
Yeah.
They don't have time to go to school. So with this like conversation, they
Okay.
can get something.
Okay.
So with your permission, we're gonna put this on maybe YouTube or something.
Okay, great.
Yeah, great. So I have like first question is regarding that it is related to marketing of fundraising campaign.
Mhm.
So if there's a newborn, not-for-profit, could be religious, anything,
Mhm.
right? So what is your like approach to launch a campaign for a new, totally new, who has no grounds?
Mhm.
So
I think one of the great things about the time and the age that we live in right now is all of the different technology that's available to us. And so even here at the center where I am now, we have a very limited marketing budget. And even though we are an established organization and well-known and reputable in our community, I think there's a lot of things that can be done on a limited shoestring kind of budget, if you will. And so I think social media, it's a huge avenue for new campaigns, new organizations, etc., because it has a multiplying effect. And all it takes is getting a few followers, a few people who believe in what you're doing, and they can start sharing the mission and the background of the organization, etc. So I think, and that's really different from years and years ago when we didn't have all of the technology availability that we have now.
Right.
And the cost is coming down on all of that. And so there's a lot of things that you can do for free. I also think that people nowadays don't expect you to put a lot of money into those kind of investments. So the more, what's the word I'm looking for? The more viral something is, the more natural it is, and not as staged or formal. The more informal it is, the better it's received.
right.
So, like, again, around here at the center, we are constantly thinking of new ways to promote who we are and what we do. And all it took for us was an investment in a very inexpensive little video camera and camera that takes still pictures. And we can go around and snap quick 20-second videos and still images of the people that we're serving and the activities that they're involved in. And that has gone further for us in a promotional aspect than anything we could spend thousands of dollars on formally producing any kind of a video or something, because it's just more it's more received, it's more natural, if you will, and it's not staged. So I mean, those are a couple of little bit of insights that I have, and I'm not a marketing professional necessarily, but I just know what we have seen work for us. And I'll just, we were talking about a fundraising event earlier today, an event that we do, and it's not real glitzy, and we don't spend a lot of money marketing and promoting it. But then we got an invitation for another organization's event that just blew us out of the water. Like, it was so beautiful and it was so professional. And we started looking at, wow, I bet they bring in a lot of money. because of this piece of material we got, this card, compared to ours, which, to be honest, didn't compare. And when we went and did some research this morning, and I didn't even know this question was going to come up, we end up raising more money than they do. And it's because our donors, they don't want our dollars to be spent on marketing and promotional materials. They want our money to be spent on the people that we serve, on our mission. And I think there's creative ways to get around that kind of thing.
Right. But I mean, you said your donors, they don't want to waste the money in marketing or creating these things. But if you have to attract the new donors,
yeah.
So what is the best strategies for that?
Again, I don't know that it's always back to marketing and just blanket kind of efforts. So for us, it's a lot of donors bringing in new people. So again, whether that be through a fundraising event and they invite their friends to attend and new donors to attend, or doing little free kind of activities. So, like, for example, in 2 weeks from tomorrow night, we're doing a free open house here at the center. We got somebody to donate all the food and the drink, and we're going to have just a little open house where people can bring people in for free. There's no pressure to give us any money at that point in time.
Right.
It's just an introduction to us.
Right.
So we use a lot of more just kind of natural ways to reach out to people rather than paid advertisements. We don't do a lot of newspaper ads or TV commercials or anything like that. It doesn't, what we're doing is working for us and it's paying off without having to spend a lot of money to do it.
So what do you think, like, what is the best medium to reach to people? Is like a newspaper, television, social media, or like word of mouth?
I think it kind of depends on what you're doing and what, again, if it's a fundraising event or if it's just general awareness of an organization. I personally think word of mouth is the best. And because think about it like if you were a for-profit business, if you're going to run a restaurant, you have people that come in and they eat dinner at your restaurant and they have good service, they have good food, and it's reasonably priced. Hopefully, what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to go back out and they're going to tell all of their friends about this amazing restaurant and what they had and all of this. Well, then those friends are going to want to try it and it's going to multiply. I think it's the same kind of analogy with a nonprofit organization. And again, I'm kind of maybe a little bit different approach than some other nonprofit professionals might be that want to put all their money into advertising. But I think if you can get one person connected to your mission and they love what you do and they see the life changing that's happening, then they're going to go out and tell other people and they're going to go tell other people, and that's going to go so much further than any paid advertisement that you can do.
And what do you think, like if somebody is creating an event or having a banquet or like maybe a event online, on social media. So what do you think, what is the best attraction for the people? It's like to make a little video, whatever you're doing, or like a message in a text form.
Yeah.
So what do you think, what is the best way to reach?
Well, I think like when we do fundraising events, we really try to cross all markets. And so we do a little bit of advertising and outreach in each of those areas. So, but we try to get them free or underwritten somehow. So there's definitely a market out there for newspaper readers and advertisement, etc. Usually a community has some sort of a community magazine. Like here in Tulsa, it's the Tulsa People magazine. It's kind of where people go to look for those sorts of things. Billboards are always, especially here in the Tulsa area, are really popular. Obviously, you have your invitations and things you're going to mail out and have available. But again, for us and our experience, a lot of it has been more word of mouth. web pages and social media are also a big factor. So one of the things we learned a few years ago was we had always put our fundraising event as a page within our webpage or our website.
Right.
But it got lost. And so a lot of our donors were saying we need to create a splash page, which is dedicated to the event. It has its own, web address. It's not tied to our regular ongoing website. And that has been huge for us. And they've really come down in price. Like it used to be, when you bought your domain name and all that kind of stuff, it would be really expensive. That has all come down in price. And so now we do a splash page for every event that we offer. And it's dedicated to just that event. And then you can have multiple layers even within that splash page. That has paid off for us more than almost anything else we've done.
Okay. So then another question is that how to the best way to create, if you have some donors and you wanted to show them the reports of their money, whatever they gave, and what is the best way to show them that with your money we did this?
Yeah, that's really hard because certain donors like different things. So what we do is, of course, we have an annual report, and that's kind of the standard way to report things in the nonprofit industry. Most nonprofit organizations have an annual report that showcase and feature everything they did for the previous year. It used to be, again, long time ago, everything had to be printed hard copy. And you mailed out these annual reports every single year. And there were multiple pages and really long and kind of boring. Now, and some organizations still do that, or they'll do a combination of some sort of a hard copy report, but now everything's going electronic. And so, but again, some people don't like electronic. So we have a lot of older donors who would rather have something in their hand. And so we make a point of doing an electronic, kind of an interactive version of a report, and a lot of our donors love it because different links will take them to different videos or pictures or infographics or things like that. But then we make a hard copy print of that as well. Obviously, it's not as cool, but it meets the needs of both of our donors. So that's kind of on an annual basis. And then we try to, it just depends on, usually we try to segment out our donors and say, okay, these are like our major donors, if you will. We know they have given significantly to our organization and they have the capacity to continue giving at that level. And not only do they have the capacity, they have the desire and the interest in our organization still. So we really try to find out from them, what do they want to see? Is once a year enough for them, or would they rather hear more regular updates about how their investment makes a difference? So some of the things we've done is say right after somebody gives us a gift, if it's for a very specific purpose, like buy a piece of equipment or fund a trip, or depending on what it is, when we write a thank you note and do a little thank you letter or the official tax acknowledgement, we'll include like a picture, or I'll send them a flash drive that has a video on it of whatever it is they gave. In one example is we had a foundation who bought us a group of equipment, so like 8 new pieces of equipment. And when we ran a class one day, we had different people on all the different equipment, and we did a little video of them. And so we put it on a flash drive and we dropped it in the thank you note, and they ended up calling me a few days later like that was such a neat touch, and then they got to share that video with all the trustees of that foundation board. So I think it just kind of depends on the donor, and you have to get to know them enough to know what it is they're wanting. And then sometimes some of our other donors, especially once they get to know us really well and they have their trust in us, they don't want as much of that. Like, they just know we're doing good work. We don't have to report it back all the time.
Right.
So they would rather we just stay in touch with them as different needs arise. And, you know, it's there's not a cookie cutter for everybody.
Right.
It's very personalized.
Okay.
And it's hard to do that all the time. And you don't do that for everyone. So you kind of have your blanket, like this is how we're going to report to the majority of the people, but there might be some select individuals and groups. You know, for us, that's a group of about 20 donors, honestly, and they're very customized. How we communicate with them and how often we communicate with them, because there are major donors, and we know what they like. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
I know, and it's hard.
Yeah.
But you get there, you build there after a while.
Right. And there's another question, like, I think that's going to be very good for, like, the new peoples who are to come in the not-for-profit world. Starting from scratch, how to build the first donor campaign. I mean, you have nobody. You are just like starting your vision.
It takes just one.
Yeah.
It takes one person. And then once you get that one person, that's where that multiplying effect comes in. And that one person to get might take 5 attempts to get there. Right. You know what I mean? So you've got to go through a lot of frogs to get to the prince. Right. And so the way I always look at it is, again, it's not personal. That, you know, if you're meeting with one person and they don't really grasp on to what you're doing and want to support you financially behind that, that's okay. Move on to the next one, and to the next one, and to the next one, because it just takes one. Right. And then once you get that one, then it's like, well, who else do you know that might be interested in what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish? And would you introduce us to them and have them there with you for that next meeting? And then guess what? You get that one and you do the same thing to that person. Right. And it just keeps growing. Chain reaction. Absolutely. Total chain reaction. Yeah. And that's whether it's from the very, very beginning of an effort even to now. I'm still asking my donors, who else do you know that might like to get behind what we're trying to accomplish right now? You know, whether it be something new that we're doing or we're growing or expanding. I'm constantly asking them to think about their circle of friends, their circle of colleagues, and people that are like-minded like them. You know, again, we all kind of put ourselves in circles of people that value the same things that we value. And so who else might you know that would be supportive of what we're trying to accomplish? And would you introduce us to them? Yeah.
And one more question, like, what is your word like on if somebody's writing fundraising himself, like, and then you get a professional to write a fundraiser. So how you differentiate, like, between those two?
So, like, if it's a founder, is that what you're saying? Yeah. And then bringing someone on professionly? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
You know, I've not ever really been in that situation, so that might be a hard thing for me to answer. But I know, for example, when I was hired into my position here, obviously this is a 59-year-old organization, and I'm not the founder of this organization. There's been a lot of people before me. Right. But one of the things they were set on is, as a board of directors, is making sure that they brought somebody into the position that had the same core values, had exactly what they knew the founders would be looking for. Okay, so I'll explain that in a little bit. That with our organization, they knew they wanted someone that could balance their heart. So we serve people with disabilities, and that is the heart of what we do. And they needed somebody in this position that was going to have a passion for the mission. Right. I'm not going to be scared of somebody in a wheelchair or anything like that. I'm going to embrace that diversity. That's a value of ours.
Right.
But I also needed to be able to balance the business side of running our organization. And so I would only imagine, and as I hire and bring people on to my team, a founder would want to do the same thing. They're going to want to bring on an individual that, number one, they can relate to and work well with. Me as a director, I have a development staff person as well, another professional fundraiser.
Right.
And that's all she does.
Right.
I want her to be my go-to person. If I can't meet with a donor, she's got to be that right person.
Right.
So I don't know if that's answering your question or not, but I just think it really needs to be the right fit and make sure, again, that they're going to have hold those same values and beliefs about the direction of the organization and the approach to fundraising. And again, I'll kind of give you an example of that. Sometimes fundraisers, especially if they've been in the business a long time, they want a lot of glory for what they do. Right. They want to be recognized for raising all this money. I have a little bit of a different approach to that. I don't want the recognition to come back to me. It's this organization.
Right.
This is the organization sold itself.
Right.
It has really, I'm just the delivery of the message, right?
Right.
This sells itself.
Right.
And so I wouldn't be able to hire someone, for example, that wanted all that glory, because that's just not our way. Right. Okay? And so that might be, something that you'd want to make sure you mesh on those kind of things.
Right.
So I remember when I was first hired as a professional fundraiser and I was working for someone, she said to me, a lot of the work that I'm going to do the day-to-day work, me. And I'm going to be writing grant letters, and I'm going to be setting up appointments, and I'm going to be, doing the day-to-day grind. She would get the recognition for.
Right.
Because she's the CEO, right? I'm just the development director.
Right.
And was that going to be a problem for me? Absolutely not. You know what? It's about the mission of the organization and meeting needs. It had nothing to do with my own ego, because I just don't feed off of that. That's my own personal. But again, some people,
they want it.
They want that glory. They want that recognition, and that wasn't going to be okay. And so I think that you've got to make sure it's that right fit, and that's not always easy to find. Believe me, we've had a hard time finding development professionals to serve our organization, and it might be because that's my background. So I'm a little bit more stringent when I look at somebody that I'm going to hire and keeping them in that position. So.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. And what is your message for the newcomers in this field?
Believe in what you do. I think that's probably the most important. The skill building part of it can be learned. Right. You can learn how to have a conversation with a donor. You can learn how to write a grant. But if you don't have the passion and the belief in what you're doing for a greater cause, none of those skills are going to matter. Right. Because, again, there's usually not a lot of money that, you're being paid for. Right. There's not always a lot of glory that comes with it. So just the belief in knowing that your work matters and that you're doing the right thing, I think is really, really important for somebody new coming into the field. I think that would probably be the biggest thing.
I think, that's like the core of our whole conversation. That whatever who is doing, if he has a faith in it, I think there is a blessing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And God himself bless that.
Yeah. We have some, here at the center, we rely on contributions from the community. We don't have state or federal funding.
Right.
We don't have any insurance reimbursements.
Mhm.
There is nothing third party. We fundraise
Mhm.
everything to run this organization.
Right.
And there are some really tight times for us.
Right.
Really tight. And it's easy to get down about that.
Mhm.
And it's easy to lose sight of why you're doing what you're doing.
Mhm.
But to keep the faith, for sure. You know, it's funny because my executive assistant, she's worked with me now for almost 6 years, and she tells me all the time, the Lord blesses you.
Right.
She said, because it seems like every time we think it's going to be tight, or we're not going to make payroll, or we're not going to be able to pay the electric bill, or something like that, something comes through.
Amen.
Something comes through.
Right.
And she said, and it's because you are a faithful servant
Mhm.
of the mission.
Right.
And that's what it's all about for me. So I just, I believe in that. I pray for our mission every day. And I make that very clear to everybody I meet with that, you know, this is my heart. And I go into it with a strong faith.
Great.
And I don't think you can do it any other way.
But I have a last question, which is like, sometimes how bold you should be to tell your vision or ask for money from somebody.
How bored?
Bold.
Oh, bold.
Yeah.
How bold you should be.
Yeah.
I think you have to be very bold. We have a bold mission.
Right.
We have bold programs. We have clients who are very bold. The way I look at things, and again, I know it's very different for different organizations and who they serve, but I serve people every day who have overcome life-changing disabilities, life-changing situations for them that could have easily ended their life. And they have been bold
Right.
to overcome in their life what they've overcome. It's my job to be bold for them.
Right.
And so I'm bold without being egotistical.
Right.
I'm assertive without being aggressive. And so that is a fine balance, but I do think that can be learned, and I think it can be practiced over time. And so, but it does take, I do think it takes practice, for sure. I was not as bold when I first started in this field, and it has taken me a number of years to be bold. But it's because the people that I serve in this mission deserves that. And it can be done in a respectful and tasteful way, and that a lot of people will look up to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you very much
Well,
for your
you're
precious
welcome.
time, and that was like very informative.
Thank you.
And thanks a lot.
Thank you so
Again.
much.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, God bless
You're going to
you.
do great work.
Yeah, thank you.